Okay, so this is the last module for the official Cloud Practitioner class. A few things to note. This is the AWS official perspective on preparing for the exam, how to evaluate some of the different like types of questions you're going to have. Here's some of the exam details. So first and foremost, just know this is a 65 question trivia exam. Not to trivialize it, it's going to be multiple choice and multiple right answer, which means, 2 or 3 or more right answers. There'll be little check boxes. It'll say select 2 or select 3, right? Now, notice that, only like a sixth of the exam is about billing and pricing. A third of it is going to be about technology, which is going to be the AWS services. About a quarter of it's going to be about security compliance, and about a quarter of it is just going to be general cloud computing concepts, like what's the SaaS, what's the PaaS, like what are the advantages of cloud computing, volume discount pricing, increased agility, reduced operational overhead, not investing in data centers, the standard stuff that Amazon really wants you to think about when using their products. It costs $75 to take the exam. You do get 90 minutes to do so, remember correctly. For this, you just need some basic understanding of IT computing. And, it's preferred that you have just 6 months of exposure really to cloud. You don't need to have production workload experience, but you can make that up with study, but just know that they want you to have some prior exposure experience. It's not a hard test. It really isn't. Like, and I say that as someone I know who has like the professional exams. It really isn't. I have literally like hundreds, if not thousands of students who have taken the cloud practitioner with, not the 6 months experience they talk about. 90 minutes, passing scores of 700. This is out of 1,000, so it's basically a 70, right? I think I said this already. You can get a time extension if English isn't your first language. So I highly recommend you do that if you struggle with comprehension. If you're great with English, listen, move on, right? I can read Spanish way better than I can speak it. Same with Japanese. So, just make the accommodations that you need. No penalty for guessing, so they're not going to penalize you. And of course, if you don't answer a question, you're going to get it wrong. So if you find yourself out of time, just go ahead and click, take a guess. That would be a horrible way to pass, but I mean, I think worse things have happened. You can flag questions, so you can like click a checkbox. So when you get to the review screen, you can flag ones that you thought were questionable or you had to guess on, or maybe you moved on because you didn't have time to answer it. So just know they do have a flag submission. If you take it in a testing center, they'll give you a little like dry erase board that you can write on. If you take it at home, which is how most of us are doing it because of Omicron, you will not be able to write on anything. So just to be clear, yeah, just know that if you decide to take it at home, which I kind of recommend because while it's not very risky in testing center because they're like cleaning like crazy, there is increased risk. So, but if you take it at home, there's a lot more stringency around the rules. So make sure you read all the guides if you do that. Okay. This is kind of nice as far as like a quick summary of certain things. But remember the AWS ramp up guides that we looked at earlier? Those are probably a little better than just you kind of sorting through this. Let me close some of this down, actually. Not that. Here it is. Oh, you know what's right here. So this is the AWS ramp guides. Remember this ramp up guide thing that we were looking at? And I said, hey, if you have the cloud foundations, this is the thing this is way better than these recommendations. It includes them, by the way. But like this is going to give you global infrastructure, shared responsibility model, comparison of the AWS support plans. Oh, man, did I do that again? Wow, I really stink at that. Thank you, Terry, for saying something, Ballwinder. Appreciate you. So just know that this ramp up guide is what you're going to want to look at, right? So, as far as like the exam details, like all these pieces, this is all covered inside the actual student guide. But this last piece, as far as like them recommending this, I would highly recommend that instead of doing that, download the Cloud Foundations ramp up guide. This is the very first URL that we talked about at the beginning. I'll post it in chat again, just in case you didn't see it. But this is the ramp up guides. And the one that we're looking at is the one that's for cloud foundations. If you need one for developer, there's one here, DevOps, etc. Right? Architecture. Just know that these can be considered a little bit of overtraining, but they're thorough. Just so you know, these are super thorough. So it might be a little bit of overkill, but it definitely will get you there. So other things to consider. Strategies for the exam. So make sure you read the entire question and you note exactly what it's asking. And I'm going to show this in practice here in just a second, so you can actually get an experience or a taste for the exam. Try to predict what the answers should be based on the question before you start reading the answers, because that'll throw you off a little bit. And then if you don't know what the right answer is, then go ahead and start excluding the wrong answers, right? Let me give you a little bit of an example of this. So our recommendation is that there's a company called Tutorials Dojo. And there's a gentleman named John Bonso who runs this website. He's also on Udemy, by the way. Bonso is his name. And for those of you who have Udemy for Business, he's generally not included in that. So don't worry, you know who you are. John also seems to love ads. But let's say we're going to go over to Cloud Practitioner. Just at the top. How weird. I'm going to post this link in the chat. For the tender cost of $15, you can get access to John's review mode exams, which is what you want. Let me show you why. When you sign up for John's tests, particularly the review mode exams, he's going to give you some of the best questions we've ever seen. And these are, by the way, all vetted and approved with AWS, because apparently John has a photographic memory. And so to make sure that he doesn't violate any constraints with AWS, he works with their legal department. Now, what's interesting about that is these are the questions that you get. Which of the following cost management capabilities does AWS immediately provide you before you create your AWS account? So first of all, what are the tools that exist outside of AWS? I haven't even looked at the answers yet, right? But we saw this today. The monthly calculator, the calculator.aws, right, all exist out. Plus you can go look at the documentation for pricing, right? So you can estimate your monthly spend on AWS probably pretty much right out of the bat, right? Because there's a cost estimator. You don't have to have an AWS account in order to do the cost estimation if you know what your workloads are. So just know calculator.aws is perfect for this. And so that's why it's the answer. Now, John's going to tell you why this is the right answer. He's going to tell you why the other answers are wrong. And he's going to give you the source documentation. And if you keep messing that up, you keep messing pricing up, he's going to give you a cheat sheet so you can double down on it. This is hands down our recommended way. We have passed thousands of students on the certifications doing this. If you follow the ramp up guide and actually study that material, do some of the supplemental labs that I'm about to show you, and then make sure that you can get 90% on 2 or more of these review mode set exams, you're ready to take the test. But let me be very clear. You're going to be studying the same set of questions again and again until you can get a 90 percentile on these quizzes. And you might say, Michael, that just sounds like straight up memorization. Well, it's not straight up memorization because 1, you just read all the material, but 2, yes, it is straight up memorization because it's a trivia exam, right? And I don't need you to know all the answers. I just need you to know the answers to the trivia. And so as you come in here and fail and learn and fail and learn, you're going to remember what these services do. You're going to remember what the right answers are. You're going to understand what policies are. You're going to understand what groups are and users and all the other pieces, because you're going to get exposed to this information through testing. So I recommend that you do the ramp up guides, do some hands-on labs if that's what you want. You don't necessarily need to do that for Cloud Practitioner, but you can. And then take the practice exams and take at least, like I said, 2 of the review mode sets of questions. I don't care which 2, but 2. And you work 1 until you get 90%, and then you work another one until you get 90%. If you're feeling very underconfident, work a 3rd until you get 90%. Sign up for the exam and you're ready to go. Do not take the exam if you can't take one of these quizzes and get 90%. Because this is not going to be exactly what's on the exam, which is good because none of us wants to cheat. But you're going to lose points because you're going to be nervous. So remember, you only need a 700. So we're giving you the chance to make an 800 or above. The last student who emailed me on Friday, I guess it was Friday, made like an 870 or something, right? No, not really strong prior experience with AWS. So this is our recommendation. Ramp up guides, hands-on labs, take these practice exams, get 90 percentile on 2 or 3 of the review mode set questions. When you're hitting 90%, you're ready to take the exam. Now, you might say, well, Michael, you said something about practice labs, supplemental labs, something like that. Yeah. So if you go to amazon.quicklabs.com, this is the public face of Quick Labs, which is the official private lab provider for AWS. This is not the private site. This is the public side of things. And if you log in, you'll notice that you'll create a login. And by the way, for those of you who work for a consulting company, you might want to use your email address for that consulting company because you might find yourself with a little surprise. But once you're here, you get into the catalog and just type in this introduction. And it's enter or introduction 2, doesn't matter. Now, notice that this gives you access to free labs. There's a free lab. There's a free lab on the key service. There's a free lab on Redshift. There's a free lab on DynamoDB. There's a free lab on Lambda. We can keep going. There, at last count, I think there's like 14 free labs, of which I only think 13 are relevant because one of them is about device farm, which has been around for a while, but my God, nobody uses. So anyway, just know there's 13 labs that are probably relevant for you that are free. When you do these labs, what happens is we're going to click on one. Let's say we want to play with the API gateway. You hit start lab on the upper left-hand side. What this does is that it's going to create a free like AWS account for you just for the lifetime of this lab. And then all you have to do once it finishes provisioning, which is what it's doing right now, is you're just going to go through and create a Lambda function and test the Lambda function. That's it. You're just going to follow the instructions. It is literally just that simple. So know that whether it's introduction to API gateway or let's say we do DynamoDB as an example. You come in here and you decide to start this one. I'm not going to do that because that wastes their resources. You just follow the task. Add a new table, add some data, modify the item, query the table, delete the table. It's just that simple. So this will give you some hands-on experience. If you want to go more advanced, a credit will cost you $1. So you want to do some of the 1 credit labs, you can spend $10, buy 10 credits. Guess what? That'll probably get you access to 10 labs. Right? So no, like for example, load balancing was $1. Database migration service was $1. RDS was $1. That's it. 1 credit. Right? It says it right here. So doing the introduction to classes inside of Quick Labs is probably the best way for you to get hands-on experience. So do the ramp up guides, do some of the supplemental labs if you want to. That's optional for Cloud Practitioner. And then do the practice exams until you can get 90%, and you are good to go when it comes to doing Cloud Practitioner and getting certified. Does anyone have any questions about the process that we suggest if you want to pass the Cloud Practitioner certification? Yeah, the ramp up guide. So if you go over here to the ramp up guide and look for it by a role, and you can download the Cloud Foundations guides, right? I actually downloaded it already because it's in Firefox. And if you open it up, this is the one where you're going to step-by-step go through the web page, watch the video on what is AWS if you don't already know, go back through AWS's global infrastructure, look at the shared infrastructure, like this. These are just step-by-step. These are things that you want to study and learn. You don't have to memorize them, but you at least want to skim them. Yeah. And by the way, notice that it includes in here, where's the class at? Class is listed for Cloud Practitioners right here. So you've already checked off one of these already. By the way, here's the digital training if you ever need the link again to get to the class. Okay. Well, I hope that helps. Let me know if you need further clarification. Okay. So ramp up guide, then do the hands-on labs, again, optional, then do the practice exams. Now, AWS has practice exams. I'm just going to tell you right now, please don't do their practice exams. They're not great. Spend the $15 to get the class. And I don't get any kick. I don't have no relationship with John. He just happens to do great exams. I get nothing out of that. Neither does WebAge, right? So just know that John makes some of the best practice exams we've seen. Thus far, everybody who has done what we've recommended, the ramp up guide, and done the practice exams to the levels that we recommended, they've all passed on first try on Cloud Practitioner. That's not a guarantee. Just letting you know that's a lot of great anecdotal evidence that this works. Okay. And then once you're done with this, once you're done with Cloud Practitioner, I want you to take a breather and I want you to think about going after something else that's more appropriate for your role. If you are a data scientist, engineer, security specialist, network engineer, and you want to go after a specialty exam, please go after solutions architecture associates first, because you're going to need that baseline to do the specialty exams. So it's going to take you about 40 hours of study plus a class to get through the solutions architecture associates exam. And it's going to take you another 60 hours of study plus a class to get through the specialty exams. So, that's only, 8 weeks at 5 hours a week. So just be aware, it may sound like it's a long time. It's not actually. It's 8 and 12 weeks. I say that time is precious. Okay. Let's see. Last little bits here. What's the passing score for Cloud Practitioner? Can someone tell me? Good. Good. Excellent. That's correct. What domains are included on the Certified Cloud Practitioner exam? So what's one of the domains that was listed there, right? Good. I see A and D. I see D. I see A. Good. Yeah, that's right. Automation is not included. That's actually part of SysOps. Monitoring and reporting is also part of SysOps, and deployment and provisioning is also part of the SysOps exam. So no. Security and compliance, billing and pricing. Perfect. Okay. This is the last piece, and I'm going to hang out here for as long as you need me to. So just let me know. But I'm going to stop sharing for a second. And what we're going to do is we are now on to the last little bit, which is feedback, actually. Let's see here. Bear with me just 1 second. Oh, here it is. Sorry, I didn't have this ready. Okay, so this is the link into WebAge Solutions. I want you to know that the CEO of our company reads these evaluations. So if you feel like there's an area of improvement or something that you really enjoyed, or if you just want to request a follow-up around a class or anything like that, if you put it in the evaluation, I promise you it will happen. Someone will get back to you. So again, let us know what we can do to improve our classes. All we ask is that you be respectful. If you start cursing, we'll probably not ignore you. But anything else that you tell us, we're going to read, pay attention to. I don't actually see the evaluations. My handler and the CEO do. So don't worry. If you need to admit how rude, crude, socially unacceptable I am and how bad the hiccups were, please do so. Otherwise, that is the official close of class. I will hang out here and answer any and all questions you have about anything AWS that you want to ask. But otherwise, we are officially closed. I'm going to stop the recording. At that point in time, you are free to fill out the evaluation, which please, please, please do that. Otherwise, we are done for the day unless you have something else that you want to cover with me. Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate you sticking with me. I know in these COVID times and these like Zoom calls and this remote work, it's like super exhausting. So I appreciate you sticking around for, what turned out to be about, 6 or 7 hours worth of stuff. So, all right. I'm going to stop recording. Thank you again. And please